You need to buy yourself a gun.
What?
A gun.
What?
Like a handgun. For personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you.
What?
What if your government tries to throw you in a dam?
What?
You're going to want a shotgun.
Oh. What?
An automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo.
Gun?
Yeah, a gun.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jack-footed cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension fund. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag them through the streets.
It is Tuesday. It is PrimerTime. This is UCY.TV. My name is Michael.
I'm Nick, and welcome to the most interesting talk show about guns on the internet.
At this time slot.
At this time, that's a disclaimer.
So, how do you feel about our lovely Senator Charles Schumer introducing some more gun control?
Well, you know, the
This
good
is
thing
something we're
about
going to have to hit real early because it's disturbing for me.
the good thing about Charles Schumer is he doesn't have to go out and find trouble because he brews it.
Yeah, that would be accurate.
Yep.
That would be very, very accurate.
So yeah,
We cooking up something, huh?
the gun grab never ends. You know, the attempt to pilfer firearms out of your fingers, it just doesn't cease. Never.
And we've got no change in status tonight, and there's also no ends that they will not go to. Currently, we've got Senator Charles Schumer from the state of New York, and his I think it's his niece or his cousin, comedian Amy Schumer, pushing for common sense regulations on firearms.
So yeah, it's interesting because as he introduced the younger of the Yiddish pair, you know, she was taking to the pulpit to lament the fact that the shooter had chosen her movie to go ahead and shoot some folks in Louisiana, and I thought for myself for a second, you know what? That shooter probably did those guys a favor because they no longer had to sit there and watch her fucking dribble.
You know, I haven't really watched a TV in a while. I mean, pretty much the only TV I get is like if I go to a restaurant and it's on, you know, in a corner or something, or if I go to a friend's house. And then usually if that's happening, I see a lot. I'll see the Disney or the Nickelodeon or whatever.
Don't worry.
So
There's plenty of crap on there too, so don't worry about it.
I would imagine. I'm not really familiar with Amy Schumer. I don't know what her past body of work is. I'm guessing that she's not been in hundreds of movies or anything like that, which would entitle her to a voice that we should respect and all that kind of noise, because, you know, she's been in 100 movies. She knows everything.
Oh, well,
so
you know, that's the kind of the same thing. Anytime you get somebody who, you know, is in Hollywood for all of a hot minute and then all of a sudden believes that they have carte blanche to go ahead and spout their political views to their 1.7 million Twitter followers, all of which are probably bought and paid for on the, on the digital marketplace. So I think
Yeah,
that
I mean, there's always questions as to how many of these Twitter followers or Facebook likes or YouTube views that are paid for.
yeah, and that's the bulk of it. What is it they used to say? You know, the number one rule in show business is that any publicity is good publicity. So it doesn't matter as long as your name is in the news and as long as you're catching a headline, that's all that matters.
That's what it appears to be. This appears to be nothing more than grandstanding. He's what he's calling for is more mental health background checks and pretty much just saying that if you have mental issues that you should be able to have a gun. Well, this is a really slippery slope beyond a slippery slope.
But he's already done that in his home state. So, you know, this isn't a stretch to see that he would push for something like this on the national level. You know, this is the only power that Charles Schumer has in a Senate that is as divided as it is. This is the only way that he can, number one, remain relevant because he's trying to make something up to be able to stay in the news, and number two, he's got no real influence. So, you know, when you take a look at it, when it came time to determine who the minority leader was going to be once Harry Reid vacated the seat, there was quite a bit of speculation that it wasn't going to be, Mr. Schumer out of New York, that it could be somebody else. So that should tell you something right then and there. The guy he's as far as his influence goes on that side of the Senate. I mean, he's got a compromised position, I would say.
Well, and between the Senator Charles Schumer and his relation, we see the perfect marriage of the absolutely Zionist-controlled media merging with the Zionist-controlled Congress and the House and Senate. I mean, this is really just blatantly in your face.
I attribute this to the John Leibovitz, or I'm sorry, was it John Stewart? Yeah, because we can't
That's
have
right, John.
Yeah, because we can't have that kind of name to be as overt and biased as we can be. We can't have that out in the public face because we got a lot of people that sit there and believe that that's actual news. So the point is that a lot of people don't know a guy named Rick Sanchez. Used to work for CNN.com or actually used to work for the network CNN, and he used to have a show called Rick's List. Up until a fateful evening where he had a ambush reporter go ahead and pose him a question about who controlled the news media. And he gave what he felt was an honest and accurate answer, and he found himself out of a job.
Did he say the Irish?
Yeah, he did not.
The Irish?
I believe he was talking.
Did he say the Mayans?
The Lebanese.
Did he say the Mayans.
I think he was talking about the Lebanese.
Well, there's rainbow flags everywhere, dude.
Yeah. So you know, and speaking of rainbow flags, it appears that one of the individuals at the gay pride parade in Israel was stabbed by a repeat offender, and apparently she's passed away. So, you know, we should be looking at common sense knife reform.
I believe that's going on in the UK, and we're seeing that they're wanting actual knife registration.
Yeah.
And that applies to not necessarily for our American audience who's not aware of this. You may think that they're thinking of some sort of Hitler dagger or a Rambo knife or some sort of machete. No, they're talking about like a steak knife.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Michael, you got to think of the children. You got to think of the children.
That's right.
And
absolutely going to think of the children. And
you have to remember that you cannot deny women the right to health care.
Do they get to pay for it, or who gets to pay for
it? Yeah. Don't try and cross that bridge. You know,
we're not going to cross that bridge because that's not the focus. Hey, by the way, let's put it out there. We have the phones open tonight. Our number is 718-717-8296. If you'd like to call in, once again, that is 718-717-8296. Call in and shoot us a question.
And remember, it is broadcasting, folks. So if you're a narrow-minded individual, I do reserve the right to hang up on your ass. So there you go. Full disclosure.
We'll sell them enough rope in honor of our happy merchant friends. All right, so you've got some interesting news. tell me about ZQI, Nick.
Yeah, so we've talked about ZQI, which is more formally known as Zenith Quest International, and they are a arms and ammunition manufacturer that's headquartered in Virginia, and they've got operations both in Virginia and the D.C. area, and then also overseas in Ankara, Turkey. And not too far from me, they're attempting to open up a indoor shooting range complete with rifle and pistol lanes. And they've gone through the zoning process. They've received approvals. They've actually started to break ground. And looks like we've got a couple of NIMBY wimps who decide that once they left the great communist state of New York, they don't want to have a gun range in the backyard. So, Michael, we got a caller.
Oh, well, let's take a call.
All right. You got one guy that's saying one thing. He's been saying it for a long time, and it's never going to change.
I don't know how that happened, Nick. I got blocked out of that. Sorry. So, did we get a call?
Yeah, we did. We got Mike on the end. Mike, you still there? All right, Michael, you there?
I'm there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Looks
You
like
got a
we had some weird
Okay,
action
well,
with the board there. So, but no, Mike called in and he got some questions. He said, don't really believe anything that a guy named Schumer says. So, it sounds like we got some folks out there that can see through the double speak and see through the fog of whatever you want to call it. But you've like I said, you got a guy whose sole purpose in Congress has been to tell you what you can't do for your own good because you're too stupid to know better.
Well, it's not only that, but he's truly a proponent of the nanny state, and it doesn't only extend to firearms. It extends to every one of your rights, and beyond that, it extends to the fact that he's creating a generation of dependents, several generation of dependents, since he's been in power for 30 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So we're going to go ahead and get our call back. Hey, this is PrimerTime. This is Nick. Who's this?
This is Mike again. I just used Iota's phone.
Yeah, no problem.
What's going on? SLC, Mike. What's the word?
The word is, I just don't trust any damn thing the politicians have to say. And I think every one of that, like the Schumers and all of that stuff, is just simple theater.
Do you feel that you've been lied to? Do you think that you've been lied to and misled by previous actions that the government has taken, representatives?
I don't know. I guess you could go all the way back to the Federal Reserve Act, and maybe you could answer that question. Yeah, I do. I believe that in my entire
life. Mike, are you insinuating that the money powers happen to run this place?
Well, I think maybe if you need a license to actually collect water off of your own property, if you have to pay taxes on it, it can be taken over from you. Then I'm insinuating that. Yes.
All right. Well, Mike, it's good to hear from you. I got to go ahead and take another call. So thanks for giving us a call.
Okay, see you later.
All right.
All right, take it easy. We'll see.
All right, PrimerTime. This is Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Greg Ford. Is this the show?
Yeah, this is PrimerTime. What's on your mind?
Oh, okay. Hey, I was just cut off the air. I was talking, and guess what? I was just cut off. Talking to Chuck, and Danny. Okay, and I was cut off. My Skype was cut off. So, okay, can you plug me in?
I think you're calling. You've got the wrong number. If you're looking for somebody named Chuck and Danny, that's wrong. This is Michael and Nick with PrimerTime. We are a firearm show. You got any questions about firearms?
Sorry. Okay, I don't know why I went there. Okay,
No problem.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot.
Sorry. Okay.
So yeah, I mean,
We
a lot of
still
people,
retain our rate of one wrong number to one call. Nick, I think that is absolutely a record. We have a 50% wrong number call rate.
Well, you do it once, that's an event. You do it twice, that's a coincidence. You do it 3 times, I think that's a trend.
Whatever. I will preach the word of the gun to even the wrong numbers.
Oh, well, that would be anything coming
Amen.
out of the what is it, the 202? What is the area code up there in New York? The 213 or whatever it is? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. I don't know. I don't make calls to that area. They don't really sell any products I need.
Yeah. So anyways, back to ZQI. So ZQI is wanting to go ahead and basically set up a business on their property, and they've got people in the local area that really don't want to have that. And the zoning commission has already voted in their favor and told these other folks to go pound sand. So I think that's one up for the good guys. All right, Michael, we got another call. Let's see if we can up.
Holy cow!
Welcome to PrimerTime.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Nick. This is Vince.
Hey, Vince, how are you
Vince,
doing?
what's the word?
Hey, is Joe Engineering on yet? I was just calling in to see. Just kidding.
That's pretty good.
Hey, first of all, I'd like to start out. Nick, it wasn't nothing personal. It was just that thing with McCain really set me off. Look, I have a lot of respect for you, and my point in calling in tonight is we all have a little difference of understanding of what is in this world, and
unless you're Bill
Clinton. So many of the dialectics are set for us. The narrative's set, and a lot of us buy in on this debate. We got to remember, like global warming. This was set up for the division between left and right. I mean, just everything is really set to keep us at odds. And as long as we're focusing on where our difference lies instead of all our similarities. With Chris on the Voice of the Revolution, last Sunday and stuff. There, we got to realize
that's absolutely the point, Vince. I
man-made global warming that is occurring. Go ahead.
I think everybody's got their right to their own opinion, and I will tell you this: I think your opinion has more weight if you use facts and logic behind it. I think if you can present your opinion with something backing it, I think you've got a hell of a lot more room to speak than somebody else. Now, that being said, in regards to global warming, I will just say that there's 2 factors that control the temperature on the Earth, and that is the amount of energy being put off by the sun at any one time, because that amount varies, and how close we are to the sun at any one time, since our rotation around the sun varies. So, a combination of those 2 factors, it will give us our global warming. Now, I will say that, yes, there are corporations that are doing things that are horrible for the Earth, but those are corporations, and a tax on me or mine really doesn't do anything, because I'm not the one creating the global warming. And even if it was a large tax, I'm sorry?
Let's remember. Let's go back to 95 when Al Gore first brought this up. It was global warming back then, but the science never supported a global warming period. And the science did support, we were in a cooling cycle. So guess what happened?
In the 70s, that was the science of the day.
Right, but now fast forward 40 years, right? Fast forward almost 40 years since the 70s, and the science and the figures. whether they were screwed over by the IPCC, doesn't support that. So the lexicon changed, and it's no longer global warming. Now it's climate change, because climate change is neither indicative of an increase nor a decrease. It's just that it is not a constant. So here's the problem with the global warming / the climate change argument. Number one, it's not a rational argument to have. This is an argument based on emotions. Anybody that ever argues with somebody based on emotions is going to lose. Okay, because you can't say that somebody that is that passionate about what they say is wrong, because in their head there's nothing you can ever say to make them see the error of their ways. This is the same thing that we have with the individual dentist from Minnesota who decided to go on a hunt in Africa. You've got 1 million people who are out there that say, "Oh, you killed Cecil the lion." Like Cecil has a birth certificate that states he was born in Zimbabwe. I think he was personally born in Rhodesia. They just didn't get it updated. And now you've got people who have never seen a lion in real life upset that an individual took and shot an animal. That happens every day in that portion of the world. And yet when the average Zimbabwean gets mauled by a lion, those same people don't raise a finger or bat an eye. They don't even know about it.
But I think regarding the lion, I think we can all agree that it's
for a very long time. But I don't agree with trophy hunting at all. I also don't agree that there ought to be somebody come, take your gun or put you in jail or ticket you for, going out and shooting a squirrel because you're hungry or a deer or whatever.
But Vince, hold on, Michael. Vince, do you believe in the basic tenets of our Bill of Rights, which is the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
Well, I believe that the Bill of Rights Constitution was an expression. It was, it's not granted anything. It was simply stating that these are unalienable rights.
That are given to us by our Creator.
It's so obvious, but it has no power in itself. And words on paper have always been used, by lawyers to trick people into a contract. So,
lawyers, religions, and everything else. I tend towards
less government, but you can't get there overnight. So, I agree in whatever positive a person's doing to make a difference in the world and change it for the better. So, if somebody chooses to, try to enter in politics at a local level, hopefully they're not going to be corrupted and, become part of the system. But, if a person's doing something for good, when my second or third program I did a couple of years ago, JJ came on and he says, "What are you against?" It's not what I'm against, it's what I'm for. And as long as we're always against something, then we're never going to be, totally for something. And sometimes we've got to remember to set our differences aside and join in where we.
Do you think that with information and as education goes on, that your views are, it's a good thing to change your view on things?
Absolutely. I'd hate to think I had the same notions or beliefs that I had, in the past, because as more information becomes available, it's okay to change your opinion. But when you become dogmatic and, when you look at religion and that includes politics, because it's a little more than religion, or the belief in
Brother
God,
Vince,
or
I
belief
would
in evolution.
read from the book of Browning anytime.
Say
That's
that again.
really
It broke
the
up
truth.
a bit.
I would read to you, Brother Vince, from the book of Browning anytime.
Yeah.
That's the true right there.
Yeah, that's the only one that matters.
But Samuel Colt made him everybody be able to keep that right. I guess.
Yeah, but him a little more.
Cool.
Well, Vince, I totally appreciate it, man. And remember, you got a spot anytime you want to drop by down here.
Right on, bro. Hey, y'all have a good, and I'll be back on that listening over here on the radio.
All righty. Thanks a lot, Vince.
Big love, y'all.
All right. So, wow, that's 2 callers. Holy smokes.
Right, watch out! It's on a roll. We're gonna have to buy a call screener.
Yeah.
And
who are we getting accused of being on the hook for? Maybe we should get them to go ahead and get us a call screener.
I'd like to thank the Koch brothers for sponsoring tonight's show.
Yeah. Well, we may not have gone over this before in chat, Michael, but one of those things that I think you would probably agree with me. I tend to write fairly well and I can present a logical argument in a clear, concise, and easy to digest and understand manner. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I would say that you are good at not. I shouldn't say good. I think you are probably, there's not a lot of people better at you than finding information on a topic and exhausting the research on that topic. And I think taking a balanced look at a topic. I think, but I honestly, what I think the issue is the topic has to interest you.
And that's the problem with anything else. But when it comes down to this, this thing about poaching the lion, was the hunter poaching? Was he not poaching? Was the professional hunter that was telling the individual who paid for the hunt, was he taken into a legal place? I think this is really what it comes down to. I think this is a microcosm of what happened over there is what we have going on in our country. We have people who genuinely want to follow the law and do things the right way, but they're trying to follow a bureaucracy, and they're trying to go with things.
I'd almost look at it in a completely different way. I think that the Cecil the Lion thing is 100% absolute, unrefined, and unfiltered bullshit. And the fact that a large lion dies in Africa, a large old lion dies in Africa, because if we really want to get into it, nature says that old lions get replaced by the younger lion.
Or they get set upon by the younger hyena pack. So
right. Yeah, we all saw the what was that? The Lion King. We all saw that.
Yeah.
All right. So, but not beyond the fact that the normal science is ignored, and the cycle of life is ignored in this, but that this created such uproar, such blinding uproar that.
But I think Michael, I think it's fake. I think it's not legitimate.
It's absolutely not legitimate, and that makes me wonder what the fuck is going on behind
You've got
the
Jimmy
lion.
Kimmel, who gets on national television and chokes up over a lion and begs people to send money, but you have people dying in this country every day before they've even left their mother's womb, and not a peep.
The sanctioned Holocaust with abortions is one thing, but if you really want to get into it, and something closer to our subject is, all right, so this lion dies and the entire world goes apeshit, but 23 veterans commit suicide every day.
That would fall under the category of acceptable losses.
Collateral damage and shit like that. So speaking of collateral damage and shit like that, let's go over sports.
Okay. So this is for my AR shooting brethren out there. So we've covered this once before, but with the resurgence of the AR platform going into all these different calibers, whether it's 223, 5.56, 223 Wild, 6.5 Grendel, 6.8 SPC, 300 Blackout, 7.62 by 5.1, and many others that are out there, you're going to need a way to go ahead and recover from some type of fault or failure to fire. And we have an acronym across the services for that, and that's called SPORTS. And sports is just what we call immediate action to get the weapon back up into firing condition. And with that, obviously you have S, you're going to go ahead and slap up on the magazine. So whether you're using a polymer magazine or you're using a steel magazine, you want to make sure that magazine is firmly set inside the magazine well. It's catching where it needs to be. And that way you can go ahead and move on to the next step, which is P for pull the charging handle to the rear. What you're going to do there is you're going to eject any shell that may be in the chamber and therefore getting ready to reload. And that was what so you have O, you're going to observe the actual open ejection port to make sure that the spent round and casing has been ejected, that there's no obstruction in the barrel or the star chamber. And then you can go ahead and hit to R, which is release the charging handle, thereby bringing another round and seating it properly in that star chamber. You're going to go up to T, which is for tapping the forward assist if your weapon is so equipped. And what that'll do is that will make sure that the round has caught on the feed ramps and is loaded properly. And then you're going to go ahead and squeeze the trigger, getting your weapon back into functioning order. So when you're doing that, you with a trained hand, you can probably do that in about 2 to 3 seconds. Just takes practice.
Nick, that was incredible that you just rattled that off right off the top of your head. I salute you for being able to do that. And that's actually some of the best information out there. As you said, the AR-15 platform is increasingly popular, even in the post-rush era that we appear to be in now, where prices have dropped significantly. The popularity of the rifle is still surging every day. I mean, to be honest, we can't even cover all the modifications and aftermarket products that appear for an AR-15 on a daily basis. We'd have to do an hour a day, and it would be the AR-15 show. So, I mean, this is a modular platform that has a ton of interest and a ton of support. Right now, it's almost value priced compared to what it was, 2 years ago. And yeah, this is great information for people who are out there getting into it.
Well, and that's one of the things is that people like to be able to get that new rifle out there, get it on the range, show it off to their buddies, and woohoo, look what I can do. But they don't go ahead and they don't know the first thing about either properly maintaining it or bringing it back into a firing order. One of the very first things you should ever do on any type of AR platform, aside from making sure that the weapon is in functioning order, is making sure that bolt is covered in a liberal amount of gun oil, whether it's CLP or liberal tears or whatever it is that you're going to use. You got to make sure that bolt, unless you're using a piston-driven system, that direct impingement is blowing all of that carbon and all of that gas pressure back through the bolt carrier and out of the bolt, and that is going to get really hot. It's going to go ahead and create a set of carbon deposits. It's going to go ahead and slow that bolt down inside the bolt carrier. Probably will prevent it to fire if you go ahead and continue to run it dry. Unless your bolt carrier group was designed to be run specifically without lubrication, that is something that.
And how would you know that? I mean, if let's say you've got a used rifle and you paid a good amount, how would you know that without being told that this is a Bob's bolt carrier group that's made with special Tetraline lubricant that's impregnated into the metal? How would you be able to tell that?
Well, normally you're going to see something on the carrier that will say, "Hey, this is a no lube carrier." There's only a couple companies out there that market that, so you can be safe on the assumption that just like every weapon is loaded until you physically and visually inspect the magazines and the ejection port area, the bolt, whatever. Yeah, you need to make sure that weapon system is free and clear. It's the same thing for a bolt. I mean, you got to make sure that it's in proper working order. And then if anybody has ever removed the bolt carrier group out of an AR, you can stand it on one end where the lugs actually lock into the chamber. And if that falls down, your weapon is probably out of specs, at least with regards to that bolt carrier group. That should stand on its end, and that can have a whole nother set of repercussions in terms of failures, especially when it comes to failure to eject or failure to reload.
Now, would any of these failures actually result in the dreaded kaboom?
Not necessarily. I mean,
let's explain what a kaboom is first.
Right. So what you're talking about, a kaboom is you're looking at a total malfunction of basically the metal inside that gas containment area. So that chamber, whether it goes back through the bolt carrier and out down the magazine, that amount of gas pressure is going to follow the path of the least resistance, and the kaboom is basically a critical malfunction and prevents that weapon from being used, and possibly fingers, hands, or eyes.
This is a almost common occurrence now, or I shouldn't say common, but it's becoming more and more commonplace as we see more and more people using this rifle. More people who really may have not had the instruction that you've had.
Right, certainly, and one of the things that I see leads to more total malfunctions than anything is people who have two different types of uppers trying to fire two different types of ammunition, and they lose track of what it is that they're trying to fire. And typically this happens with the 5.56 and the 300 blackout. Mainly because you have the 300 blackout that will chamber in the 5.56 barrel. However, with that 7.62 diameter bullet, you're not going to really go down that far on a 5.56 barrel. It's just bullets don't like to stretch, and that gas pressure is going to get blocked off. It won't be able to exit the barrel and go back into the gas system. And
and pure science says that it follows the path of least resistance and blows out your hand.
It could, depending upon where your hand is. Most of the total malfunctions that I've seen tend to follow the bolt carrier and the bolt itself, and it will go ahead and tend to vent out the bottom of the magazine well, rendering the upper completely unusable. What we would say is unserviceable. And then, probably with some damage, just like I said, fingers, hands, or eyes.
Okay, so this brings up an interesting question. In lots of YouTube videos, there's a common grip on the rifle that I've noticed that's becoming. There's two types of grips that I see are prevalent now amongst people who make videos on YouTube and supposed operators and things like that.
Yes.
Now, one of them is a kind of funny chicken wing.
You're talking about the angled foregrip.
Right. Well, I'm not necessarily talking about the angled foregrip. I'm talking about a funny chicken wing where they actually sort of grab the guard over the muzzle and hold it with their arm perpendicular to their body.
You're talking about their actual hold on the upper receiver.
Right, and then there's another one where you've got a grip that fits over the front of the mag well. Now, this grip that fits over the front of the mag well is pretty interesting. It's got a finger groove. I've seen them, kind of cut to designs to where they look a little interesting. And it seems like it would be a fairly convenient place to put your hand and to give you control over the weapon, especially with something with a shorter barrel. Now,
so you're talking carbine barrels more than rifle barrels, yeah.
Or even shorter, or somebody's got a pistol length barrel that's got some sort of sig brace or something on it.
Yeah, those are the folks that are going to go spend the money for the short barrel rifle license, and then by the way, I decided that I wanted to make a pistol out of it. Okay, there you go.
I've seen that, and I think people get involved with the licensing and they kind of they don't really realize what it entails. And exactly like we're talking about with the AR-15 pistols here, they've gone out and they've spent a lot of money to get a SBR stamp, which would be for a short barrel rifle. But there's plenty of people building them with taking a pistol and adding a sig brace to it and basically getting the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it, just going into the types of holds, when you see the folks that are going out there trying to extend that one arm hanging off the front end of the upper receiver, I think to myself, these are your 3-gun competition shooters, and these guys are basically trying to keep the muzzle rise down. From when they fire around, they're trying to prevent that muzzle from climbing too high for them to go ahead and reacquire a sight picture for the next target. We're talking about the grips, whether you have that fold down grip, whether you have the grip pod, bipod grip, or whether you have that angled foregrip, you just kind of looking at, hey, are you practiced enough with this, whatever weapon you're putting that on? Are you practiced enough to where if you have to raise that weapon from your low ready or from even off of your hip, that you can go ahead and acquire a sight picture quickly and engage a target successfully? So that's one of those things that I think that before you go out and spend the money on all that, you probably need to spend a lot of time at the range to determine if you really need that or not.
Well, I would agree with you. But, once again, we've also seen that the AR-15 is the male equivalent of the Barbie. And honestly, I think there's a lot of guys that just like to have a rifle that looks neat, similar to what they've seen in a video game or in a movie or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
And
like I said,
that's what they care about.
you know, it's funny. I was at a major Army installation on the East Coast today, and happened to see some of the U.S. Army's newest lieutenants. And while I was trying to observe said lieutenants,
Did you feel like an old man?
You know, it's not that I felt like an old man, but when I heard one of them give his date of birth of 1992, I just shocked me. I was like, holy hell. You know, I was 3 years away from graduating high school at that point.
Man, 92.
Yeah. Young dudes, huh?
Well, at least I won't get called up for reserve service once we go to war with China.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, that's
too
one of
old.
That's one of those things that I'm looking at as, you know what, they won't want, they barely want me now. They certainly won't want me then.
I think you might be a tad outspoken for your position.
You know, and speaking of being a tad outspoken, did you happen to hear the latest in terms of talk about the individual from the U.S. Navy that happened to at least attempt to engage the Chattanooga shooter?
Yeah, I've heard several stories. It originally came across as he was being charged, and then I've also seen that he's not being charged.
Right.
But
so I think the truth is somewhere in the middle there, because originally the way that this came about was a former congressman from Florida, Alan West, had put it out there as gospel that the U.S. Navy was going to charge that Lieutenant Commander Timothy White. Came out today, a Navy spokesman has said that there's no truth in that. At this time, the United States Navy has not charged the individual. But I think what was more important was what he didn't say, which was that the U.S. Navy will not charge the individual. So I think that you have to be a little bit adept at reading between the lines and seeing that, you know, that there's certain qualifiers that people use. And
did you say lion? That's what made me think of Cecil.
Yeah. See, I was going to put a hashtag out there. I don't do Twitter, but I was gonna send a tweet that said hashtag Lion Lives Matter.
So, I think you're right. You know, you have to read between the lines and everything that comes out. Now, this shooting in that was Chattanooga. This comes, you know, just prior to the revelation that the Garland shooter, and we're going to go back a couple months to the Draw Muhammad contest.
Yeah. Michael, hold that thought. We got one more call. We're going to try and sneak in.
Oh my God, we got a call.
All right. Hey, well, welcome to Primer Time. This is Nick. Can you hear us?
Oh yeah. Who is this?
Yeah, this is Primer Time. What's your name?
Oh, Alan. I was just calling to see if this is another show. I guess I got the wrong term.
We wouldn't have thought anything less. No problem. Take care. So there we go. We're 2 for 4. We're maintaining that 50%.
We are batting 500.
I'll tell you what. If we put through half of the bills that Congress submitted and actually got them put into law, we would be kicking ass.
Oh man.
So that's one of the things. I think at some point I'm going to refer back to my rule of reserving the right to hang up on anybody. I'm going to reserve the right to start screening calls.
We don't have a call screener. We can't screen calls.
I know.
I mean, you know, we can only get so many, like, you know, requests for pizza. No, you cannot have it your way.
This is not Burger King. So like I said, I think that you got to be adept at reading between the lines. You got to see the double speak, the utter nonsense that's just filling the airwaves, and you know you just got to have one realization. And I think, you know, that we haven't really talked about the different types of pro-gun organizations or pro-Second Amendment organizations out there. But I wanted to bring up Gun Owners of America because they've got a real simple slogan, and that is. Go ahead for me, Michael. I'm pretty sure I'm going to mangle it, but basically what it comes down to is they are the only no-compromise gun lobby in Washington.
I do believe that's exactly how they build themselves, and I find them to be far less beggy for money,
Oh yeah.
and I don't think they draw as much ire. They're not as well known. They are heavily targeted by anti-gun forces. Now, the leader of Gun Owners of America is a guy named Larry Pratt. Now, I will say that I do not agree with Mr. Larry Pratt on everything he says, but when he does talk in defense of firearms, I really like what he says. I don't like pretty much anything else he has to say, but when he speaks in defense of firearms, he's right on the money, and you
Well,
really can't argue with the guy.
and that's good because you know what, you can encourage debate and you can participate in debate, but a debate is just that. There's two sides that get to present their point of view, and I think that what we honestly have right now is we have a element that is going through our legislative process, and they're getting their viewpoint always heard. There, you know, you don't hear a day, or you don't see a day go by where you don't hear about some kind of need for common sense gun control, right? So I would just like to see, on the other hand, where's the opposing viewpoint? Where's that senator that's going to sack it up? And if you don't want to, know what I mean by saying sack it up, you got to reach down, grab a pair, make sure they're still there, and say, hey, I'm going to stand up for what my constituents' rights are, instead of being the guy who just goes along with what a majority leader says, who half the time you can't even tell what team he's batting for.
Nick, I don't think that guy exists. I think they've all sold out. I did see something today that was sort of disturbing. It was a picture of several senators and congressmen that were getting ready to get on an El Al flight, for an all expenses paid trip to Israel.
Yeah, well,
when
it's on your passport as other nationality, I think,
What I really don't appreciate is, we're being sold out every day by the dual citizens, and it seems that we may harp on this, but they've got an insane lust for your firearms. They're very scared of your firearms because they know that someday you're going to figure it out, and they don't want you armed the day that you figure it out.
Well, and that's the other side of it. You go ahead and you hear, all these examples about how these innocents were led to the slaughter because, this one person had access to a gun. I think that was what Nancy Pelosi, she was talking about the killing in San Francisco in her home district. And it wasn't about, hey, we have somebody who is a criminal and shouldn't be in this country in the first place because he's been deported multiple times. Never mind the fact that we already have laws in this country that are on the books preventing people with felonies from owning firearms. No, it was about the preponderance of the ability to get a firearm in this country was what.
But Nick, this incident that happened in San Francisco is just another incident of, there was an excessive amount of government involvement. The gun the guy used was stolen from some sort of federal agent who really gets to carry a gun wherever they want to go. So the fact that they left the gun in a car is just kind of lazy. That just says lazy to me.
But are you going to be the guy that admits I lost positive control of my firearm? You're going to say it was stolen.
It was a personal weapon. It wasn't the duty weapon. But then, the government involvement in firearms becomes even more glaring in light of the Los Angeles Times reporting that one of the firearms used by one of the gunmen at the Draw Muhammad contest in Garland was a Fast and Furious gun.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So let's really look at this with a critical eye. Every terrorist activity that happens in the United States, government's fingerprints are all over it from day one.
Well, Michael, we got another caller, and caller, you're on live with PrimerTime.
Hey, how you doing, Ham?
What's going on?
Ham and Nick, how you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good. What can we do for you?
Well, you were just talking about that piece of shit JFK. Okay, he's the first one that signed
the
treaty
gun
with
control
the UN
That's
He was the first one to sign a treaty with the UN against guns.
do you think any of them are
it's
standing
amazing to
for us?
me. Say what?
Do you think any of them are looking out for you? Are looking out for your gun rights, for your rights as an American citizen? The way that you thought the country would be when you were
missing the whole point here, dude.
Give me
JFK.
Tell me.
Was a traitor.
100%.
And you were talking
100%.
about gun control.
Right, and he did sign. He signed. I don't remember the declaration number, the UN treaty
Yeah,
number, but
it
he
was
did
in
sign
1961.
something. Right, it was the beginning of the UN Small Arms Treaties.
Yeah, but they disguised it in.
Because look, we see that from
he
the
disguised
right
it as a nuclear thing. But if you read through the whole treaty, it was talking about small arms fire.
Well, but we see this with all the presidents since then. There's always the push to get firearms, even from the presidents that the so-called quote unquote right-wing gun owning, Bible thumpers look to as a god. We even see that they
give a fuck about no goddamn Bible thumpers. That ain't the issue I'm talking about.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is every president has signed some sort of gun control bill, whether
but JFK was the first one to do it, to sign a treaty with the UN.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We have a precedent of JFK going to the UN to propose a treaty or to sign on to a treaty, and you got the same thing happening now. So you've got an executive overreach.
It's been going on since at least 1961.
Right. So what I'm saying here is that as a executive branch, that has been stare decisis. That's settled history. That goes on. And here's the thing: is that the average person doesn't know that.
Well,
the average person knows nothing.
And people put JFK on a pedestal.
Well, I think certain people do, but not everybody does.
President, when all he was a goddamn traitor.
Well, and here's the thing: you've got people that will say, "Oh, he did great things," or he inspired Americans to do better. He gave great speeches. But every president's got faults. And when you take a look at you look at this guy going to the UN and doing that.
Jesus Christ, fucking people want to believe about presidents and shit. Are you kidding me?
Well, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people. You think
anything is true about the Constitution? That's why we're hearing this problem now, is because of the goddamn Constitution.
Well, it may be the shittiest form of government, but it's the only one we got. So, hey, I appreciate the call.
Well, that shit needs to change right now and today and yesterday.
Well, the only way it's going to get done is you got to get enough numbers of like-minded individuals to make that change. So we got to.
Well, good
go
luck with that.
Call.
Method to make that change. There's what are the 4 boxes of liberty, right? And that's the
ballot box,
soap box, the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. Now, I'm going to firmly say that this is our soapbox, and we have our reach. And tonight, it appears that we've got a little more reach, and that's really not doing much. The ballot box is controlled by Diebold. The jury box is bought and sold. I hope we've all got a cartridge box somewhere and a way to throw them cartridges, because that time may show up.
Well, Michael, we got to go ahead. We got to hit some 4 rules of firearm safety while we're at it.
All right. First rule is every firearm is loaded until you have checked and physically and visually ensured that it is not loaded. Rule number 2 is know what the direction of that muzzle is pointed in. Don't point it at anything that you do not wish to destroy. Rule number 3 is know what your target is, know what is beyond your target at all times. And rule number 4 is keep your booger hook off the bang switch until you are ready to discharge the weapon.
Yep. Can't say that enough.
Than that.
Yeah, short and sweet, down and dirty. So yeah, I think that we've had an interesting assortment of callers tonight. We value most everybody's opinion, except for the folks who don't know that this is PrimerTime and not some other show. I pretty much don't value those guys.
I value everybody who agrees with me.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that I wanted to sit here and say is that, you know what, if you ever find yourself out there talking amongst acquaintances or people that you may not know, intimately, and they get on the anti-gun grab, they get on the you shouldn't go out and shoot, you shouldn't go out and do anything. You got to look at the type of person that is before you decide to engage them in a conversation, because if they're making that emotional argument, and you can see that these are very passionate people and they believe to their absolute core and what they're saying is true, there's no amount of reason or logic that you're going to be able to use in order to get them to see the error of their ways. It just won't happen. So, what's the old axiom? You got to pick your battles.
Well, not only you got to pick your battles, but you have to come to the realization that everybody has to hear the bill go off for themselves, and not everybody will hear the same bill.
No, they don't. And like I said, that's something that can happen early on in the conversation. It's something that can happen, a few years down the road when they figure out, hey, why is everybody in certain influential members of society seem like they have either a Polish or a German last name, but they're not Polish or German.
The real key should be when people figure out there's questions that you cannot ask. When there's questions that you cannot ask, you should be very, very scared. And it doesn't only apply to who's running your Congress and why they have a loyalty with another nation, but these are questions that you can ask in everything. If anybody takes any question that you ask and immediately ridicules you, I think you're on the right path, and you should continue asking that question because you've hit a nerve.
Well, and that's the thing. We talk all the time about when you start taking flack, you got to be over the target. That's probably something that every World War II Army Air Corps vet probably knows. Is that it's smooth sailing as long as you're not coming on critical infrastructure. But as soon as you get close to hitting that sensitive nerve, you're going to start taking some of that flak. You're going to start taking some of those shots across the bow, and you got to be ready to sit there and say, hey, do you stand up for what you believe in? Do you have enough conviction in your beliefs to not be swayed and to not be misled? And I think that when it comes down to owning firearms, here it is. Are you going to be misled by the people who want to take your firearms away from you? Because make no mistake, they do. They want to tell you that you're too stupid to be able to defend yourself. They want to tell you that you need to be a victim and you need to be able to have the government to step in and take care of you.
And what's more is they really, really want you to believe it.
Oh, they certainly do. So my thing is that go out there and exercise whatever right that you have that you want to do. Do it, legally. That way there's less stress on you, of course. I'm not saying go out there and wave an AR-15 at an elementary school full of kids. That's probably going to bring you some unwanted attention. But you know what? If you're going to go out there and you're going to be an unapologetic hunter,
you bring a good point up, Nick. You bring a good point up. Just within the last couple of weeks, there was a guy who carried an AR-15 into an airport. I believe it was Hartsfield in Atlanta. And he didn't go, I guess he was just in the foyer, the entry of the airport. Oh, that's it. Hey, we're out of here. Thank you very much. UCY.TV rocks. Well, that was fast, Nick. Everybody, we'll catch you next week. Thank you very much.
Take it easy. Thanks, Jules. Thanks, everybody in chat.